Edmonton has a rich history in motor racing. Another chapter will be written this afternoon as a Rexall Grand Prix serves as a third and decisive encounter in a Canadian Triple Crown. Here is indeed, and one of the flyovers taking place now. Lots of pre-race activities here, and oh, there is the racing great Mario Andretti. He's on hand this weekend. He gives the command to start the engines, and just wonderful to see someone like Mario here. On board with Will Power, second places in the early stages here in Edmonton. On board with Team Australia, the Aussie Vineyards car of Will Power, running in second place. He's lost that lead at the very start. And we heard from Derek Walker perhaps why that happened, and who through this very tricky part of the course at turns 11 and 12, James.
Yeah, here we are. We're rocketing up the back section of the track here. This is that very fast chicane I was talking about. Look at the hands, look at the bumps that the drivers have to go through. The camera really does not do it justice. You cross back across the track now, heading down into the first corner. It's a long entry. You're turning for quite a while, and it's just one corner of a very technical, very physically demanding racetrack here in Edmonton.
So on board still with Will Power, he's chasing Sebastian Bourdais. Did Sebastian make a little bit of a mistake down there? It looked like he got a little bit closer going into turn 7. These corners here, just quicker and quicker and quicker, leading onto this back straight.
They do get progressively quicker and progressively bumpier, which makes it all the more difficult. Now this is the turn 10 corner we're heading into, just to give you a perspective on the track here. And this is this is the important corner to get a good run off of. This is 11 and 12. You carry a lot of speed in here, try and keep the minimum up, and then back to power as early and as hard as you can, because it's essentially flat out from here now all the way down to the first corner. But just watch the bumps again through this section. You can see it, you can hear it even. You can hear the car bottoming out, and you have to be very careful about how low you set this car up, because of course ride heights being a very key setup point on these DP01 chassis. So through the quick 2-3 chicane, back again across the track for turn 4, bit of a compression, very quick. This is a very physically tough part of this track, and because it's so busy, you've got 9 corners pretty much consecutive without a straightaway to rest yourself. And with the kind of downforce that these ChampCars produce, that is incredibly physically demanding, and they have to do that for an hour and 45 minutes straight. And let me tell you, Jeremy, that is no mean feat. And he will dive into the pits this time, and your leader is now in the pit lane. This is going to be the one that calls it all.
And Rick de Brule is in the Newman Haas Lanigan Racing pit.
They were on the radio to him beforehand saying, come make one really killer lap before you get in here. In terms of adjustments, all they've done is change some tire pressure. Everything else is solid. A good long fuel stop, and he's on his way.
On the pit lane, speed limiter all the way down the pit lane. Boy, that feels like you're hardly moving at all there. But Sebastian Bourdais, I think that strategy is going to pull him out into the lead of the race. Justin Wilson did emerge ahead of Will Power. Whoa, there's a sideways side. Sebastian Bourdais, he wants to get back out on the racetrack ASAP, James.
He does, and he wants to get those Bridgestone tires up to temperature, because as you said, Jeremy, no tire warmers here. And you saw in the background, Justin Wilson, the red number 9 CDW car, is in the background. So a fantastic call from the Newman Haas Lanigan guys, and brilliant driving from Sebastian Bourdais to A, save that fuel in the first stint, and B, to be able to lay down those quick laps when it mattered. He now finds himself back out in the lead of this race. That was just fantastic bit of racing.
And I fancy Graham Rahal might have moved up as well. We'll have to wait and see till they all cycle past the finish line one more time. But this on board with Justin Wilson, and you can see there's a pretty goodly margin ahead to Sebastian Bourdais. Where's Will Power? Oh, here is Will Power. Okay, I was going to say, where's Will? Time for another pit stop. This will be his final pit stop of the day. Great on board, great shots there from Les Channon. They're going to make a change to the front of this car, aren't they? They're going to take the shock cover. Oh, he's turned off the engine. So, oh dear, what a disaster for Team Australia and Will Power.
Heartbreak here. This is a bit shocking actually for the team, because they are showing off their shock and spring package right now with this camera. They probably didn't realize that that camera was on. That's not something they want other teams to see, but they've backed off that now. Something down in the footwell, it looks like. They're looking at the rockers in the front of the car. I don't know if maybe Will made slight contact somewhere or what, but certainly there's something not right in the steering As you can see, they may be looking in the steering rack. There's all sorts of components at the front that could go wrong, and if you have something broken there at a track like this, that could end in a serious accident. So smart move on them to bring it in and check out the car.
Heartbreak for Will Power and Team Australia. The Aussie Vineyards team are looking to clinch the Canadian Triple Crown. They came here this weekend poised to win it. They had an average finishing position of 3.0 for their two drivers, Will Power and Simon Pagenaud, but now it looks like Will Power will not finish this race, or even if he does, he'll be a long way back. We've got just under half an hour to go, and we're under yellow again here in Edmonton. So we're now gone under caution here at the Rexall Grand Prix of Edmonton. Don't yet know. Well, yes,
Doornbos. Robert Doornbos has stopped. It doesn't look like he's hit anything, but he has stopped in what looks like heading into the 11-12 chicane. Sorry, the 13-14 chicane right in front of pit in there. Obviously, he's a bit upset, waving his hands there. Visor is up. He does need a push. When the drivers put their visor up, that's the universal sign of the safety car that their motor is dead. They need assistance. And, you know, this is not good news for another one of the championship contenders.
Minus 0.005, the 30.4 on the steering wheel. They have 32 gallons of fuel that they use in these cars these days.
Got a 7-second gap as the white flag. Well, I guess they don't use the white flag anymore. The one finger is waved. 1 lap to go here at the Rexall Grand Prix of Edmonton. It looks like Sebastian Bourdais will have this one in the bag.
Certainly, Alex Figge has done a nice job for the Pacific Coast Motorsports team. As in the car number 29, but it's all about this man, isn't it? Sebastian Bourdais. No need to take any chances now. He's got a huge lead. Well, almost 6 seconds. It's come down a little bit, certainly over the last few laps, and Justin Wilson is now using his Cosworth power to pass, maybe trying to wrest away that fastest lap. Who knows? There's a bunch of guys using it farther down the field as well, and it's still that battle there for Bruno Junqueira trying to get past the two Forsyth Championship racing cars. It's Sebastian Bourdais. He's settled in here behind Alex Figge. He'll be looking in his mirrors somewhat nervously, I'm sure, but I think it's still a pretty large gap back to Justin Wilson. And now just 2 corners to go for Sebastian Bourdais. Absolutely remarkable. This is his 67th start, and Sebastian Bourdais, there are the twin checkered flags. That is win number 27 for Sebastian Bourdais out of just 67 starts. An amazing win percentage. It's well over, it's just absolutely remarkable what he has achieved. Almost 40% of his races, he ends up in the victory lane. That's exactly what he's done again this afternoon. Wilson finishes third, Rahal in fourth, and here comes Simon Pagenaud for Team Australia, and he comes home with what would appear to be a 4th place finish and an excellent run by the Frenchman, or by both the Frenchmen. The Frenchman wins the race, that is Sebastian Bourdais, and his protege, Simon Pagenaud, whom Sebastian helped to get into the ChampCar Atlantic Championship last year, comes home with a 4th place finish. But it's Sebastian Bourdais. He this afternoon is number 1 here in Edmonton.
This is San Jose in California, round 9 of the season. And on pole position, Justin Wilson of Great Britain in front of defending champion Frenchman Sebastian Bourdais. They're ahead of the surprisingly quick Dan Clark in 3rd place on the grid. Well, it's all incredibly tight coming into round 9 of the season. The top 4 in the standings, separated by a mere 29 points, is Sebastian Bourdais on top of the pile. While we can see how it all shaped up in San Jose, we'll head down to the start and the first laps of the race. And stay tuned, because a lot's going to happen.
Sebastian Bourdais, he got the lead away from the start, and exactly what Justin Wilson did not want, and a traffic jam at the back of the field. There's that Neil Jarney there with a problem, and also Robert Doornbos. Looks like he's lost the nose on that car. It's actually on the top there, I think, of Jan Halen's car. So a disaster for Robert Doornbos. He was leading a championship a couple of weeks ago, and now it's all gone wrong on the very first lap.
That was a very hectic start. We saw cars 3 wide into the hairpin here, and that is not easy to do. Let me tell you, that is a very tight corner, and Robert Doornbos, I think he just got so caught up that his car probably just stalled. I mean, they were going so slow at that point. This will have to bring out a full course caution, although it's not out yet. might actually try and get him jump-started before the field comes around and avoid it, but it's going to be touch and go with such a short lap. And yes, the yellow flag has just come out. We are under caution.
Yeah, they tried desperately there to keep it from going full course caution, and these guys in the Holmeshow safety crew get as quick as they possibly can. But now here is Justin Wilson coming into the turn 1 chicane there, the Toyota hairpin, I should say, on the very first or the second lap now. But you can see he did make the best of the start. He got away ahead of Sebastian Bourdais, who I think has stalled it coming out of the hairpin now on under full course caution. James,
what is that? It's rolling again. I have no idea what's just happened there, Jeremy. And I don't know if he'll be able to take his spot back. I think he's legitimately lost those positions now.
I would say so. I mean, you know, I don't. That's going to. Well, have to have a look and see here what happened. This is the result. This is what happened on the very first lap of the race, and you can see that Robert Doornbos rides up onto the top of Jan Helen's car. Well, Jan Helen's had absolutely no luck whatsoever this season. Catherine Legg is bottled up behind there as well, and it was. Yes, Sebastian Bourdais did take the lead at the start. I thought he did. Yeah. But Justin Wilson got that lead back by the end of that first lap. But here's this kerfuffle at the back there, and there is Robert Doornbos. I think, as you say, just the car's going so slowly there, just wasn't able to keep the turbo spinning, keep the engine, getting enough revs to make any horsepower, and he stalls that engine, and he is now already gone one lap down. But then on that next lap, the big story there was Sebastian Bourdais. We saw him take the lead at the start, but it was definitely Justin Wilson that came around at the end of lap 1 in the lead of the race, and then under caution there up at the hairpin, coming out of the hairpin, that engine just would not pick up at all, and Sebastian Bourdais has fallen back to 8th place, James.
Very, very bizarre. I mean, he got a stellar launch. He actually was well ahead of Justin by the time they got to the brake zone for turn 1, and was just not able to hold on to it. So under caution right now, Justin Wilson leads here in San Jose.
So still under caution here in San Jose. Look at Jan Helen there in a Conquest Racing car. That is the nose cone of Robert Doornbos, perched very precariously over the engine cover of Jan Helen's car. The pits were closed, of course, as they always are when we go to full course caution. I'm sure they'll be opened up this time around, and as we've just seen the green light flash on here on our timing and scoring, so the pits are now open. Jan Helen will come onto pit lane. You always like as much downforce as you can on these cars, but not quite to that extent, James.
Yeah, normally you can't do anything too creative with the aerodynamics here, and obviously they're going to have to come in. As you see him diving into the pits now, he's got to get that wing off there. If I were him, I would have been shaking back and forth, left and right, trying to just shake it loose and save yourself having to come into the pits, but unfortunately that's not the case. We see another car dive in, Robert Doornbos, of course, coming in for the new front wing that we see attached to the back of Jan Helen's car.
That is exactly right. So he is onto pit lane as well. And it may not be all bad news for these guys. Generally, we're looking at a 3 pit stop race this afternoon. It's a complete new nose section on that car number 14, the Austria car of Robert Doornbos. But, we reckon with about maybe 12 laps of caution, that will be enough to make it a 2 pit stop race for the contenders if they're running without saving too much fuel. So, it's certainly early stage. We've only had a couple of laps of yellow at this stage, so it's certainly not enough to make this become a 2 pit stop race as opposed to a 3 pit stop race, used on the green flag conditions. But still, Jan Helen and Robert
car.
Here's a replay. We saw Justin Wilson lose the lead at the start, but that was at turn 2. Sebastian Bourdais left his braking a little bit too late, understeered wide. Justin Wilson said, thank you very much. But now Dan Clark has folded up, front wing has folded up beneath him. We must assume he must have had contact with the rear of Justin Wilson's car.
It must have been in the first corner, Jim. We saw a few cars getting quite in there, but we've got a full course caution again. We had just gone back to green flag racing, and we've got reports that Justin Wilson may be slow on the racetrack. Another bizarre. Bill Stevens in the pits.
Guys, it's just pandemonium down here in the minority pit. They just got through servicing Doornbos' car and putting a new nose on that, and moments later now they're having to do the same thing with Dan Clark. On Doornbos' car, they checked the suspension. They found there was nothing structurally wrong with it. They sent him away. They're hopeful that that's the same case with Dan's car.
And look at this, poor Justin Wilson. He took the pole. He was looking good at the front of the field. He got the lead back from Sebastian Bourdais after losing it initially at the start. But now he's just coasting down the pit lane, and his CDW crew have got to run all the way back down here now, push him into his pit stall. This is going to be losing him an awful lot of time.
This is just so bizarre. The top 3 starters have all hit drama in the first 3 laps of the race. Sebastian Bourdais going wide in the second corner rather, after taking the lead, and then having a mysterious car failure temporarily, then got going again. Dan Clark's wing has gone under his car, and he must have had contact with this man, Justin Wilson, who's now in the pits.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any damage to Justin's car, so maybe it just cut out for some reason, and that, you know, Dan Clark had nowhere to go, but it would appear there's no damage to the back end of this car, at least a cursory inspection from the pit lane. But in the meantime, we're getting ready. Let's have a look here as they come out of turn 6 there. Justin Wilson is coming out of the corner. You expect him to accelerate there. He clearly doesn't, and Dan Clark just gets into the back of it.
I think you're right, Jeremy. I think something happened on the CDW car. He just slowed up, and I know he does have right rear suspension damage there for sure.
It's flashback time. Let's have a look at what happened last year and a run-in between Paul Tracy and Alex Tagliani. Well, after the collision, both men fought on their way back to the pits. Amazing pictures. Well, we can head back to the 2007 race and an equally amazing performance from Doornbos.
But behind Justin Wilson there is car number 14, that is Robert Doornbos. And as we speculated a little while ago, the strategy appears to be playing out in his favor. Doornbos leads from Neil Jarni and Oriol Servia. We're under caution in San Jose, less than half an hour to go. This is the man who's just put on a clinic this afternoon. He's just taken full advantage of the fact that you never give up in the ChampCar World Series. You never know what's going to happen. There's all sorts of strategy to be played out, but you've got to take advantage of that strategy, and that is what Robert Doornbos has done. His lead now over Neil Jarni in second place, already out to 4.5 seconds, and about 3 minutes to go here, so probably just 3 laps to go in this race. And that is the lead that Robert Doornbos has over this group here. We've got Neil Jarni in second place, Oriol Servia in third, and Will Power, Sebastian Bourdais and Graham Rahal all in a trade. A little bit of a gap back to Bruno Junqueira. Behind Bruno Junqueira is Pagenaud and Tristan Gourmandi. Jan Halen is the final car on the lead lap. Paul Tracy, having run out of fuel just disastrously for him. He's shown in 11th, having completed 101 laps. Mario Dominguez, he's still running another lap behind PT in 12th place. And then behind them are Alex Figge, Alex Tagliani, and potentially Justin Wilson is going to leapfrog up a couple of places in the very final stages of this race. There is that battle between Simon Pagenaud and Tristan Gourmandi, the two Frenchmen battling over 8th and 9th. Quite a battle there, two Frenchmen there, and Tristan Gourmandi, he was absolutely incensed that he got that drive-through penalty, and without the pit lane radio, the radio communication didn't know what it was, but there is that pass for position. You can see Pagenaud there on the red sidewall tyres, and Neil Jarni also is on the red sidewall tyres. The race leader, Robert Doornbos, is on the blacks, as is Tristan Gourmandi, and it seems like the black tyres, as most of the teams thought they would be the hot ticket for the long runs with very warm conditions in San Jose.
And that's exactly what we just saw. That was pretty much a battle of the tires there. Pagenaud on the reds, quicker over one lap, but deteriorate, and the pace falls off more over a long stint. Gourmandi also with a quick car, but with the more consistent tire, was able to, in the final laps of this race, just get a good run on Simone and make the move down into the first corner. So that will lift him up into the 8th position. Pagenaud relegated down to 9th. Jan Halen still running 10th for Conquest. Another top 10 finish on the cards for him, which is very, very good considering, again, caught up in a first turn incident.
And there's a couple of guys turning quick laps here in the closing stages. Oriol Servia has just turned his best lap of the race in 3rd position, as has Bruno Junqueira in 7th place. Bruno just had a 50.230. That's the 4th fastest lap of the race for Dale Coyne Racing. But here is Robert Doornbos here, just 1 lap to go. There is that one finger signal. One more lap. There's very calmly Michael Cannon over the radio to his charge. This man, Robert Doornbos.
You gotta love that guy. I got a little bit of a chance to get to know him last year when he was running with Forsyth, or sorry, he was working for Forsyth. I was running for Forsyth, and he's a phenomenal man. Is Michael Cannon, incredibly gifted as an engineer, very intelligent, and just a great personality as well. So he has done his job to perfection today, as has his driver. But there's still still a battle being waged on track between two championship contenders fighting over the 4th position.
Yeah, we saw earlier in the race it was Will Power who made a move on Sebastian Bourdais, but here is Robert Doornbos. He comes down into turn 6 at one last time. The blue coat corner down the final straightaway here into red back corner. A right-hand turn here into 2nd gear. He'll come up through the gearbox. The checkered flags are awaiting, and there they are. Robert Doornbos, the 2nd win of his career. Absolutely remarkable record that he has eked out since joining the ChampCar World Series this year. He's had just podium finish after podium finish. This will be his 6th podium in just 9 starts. A remarkable record for Robert Doornbos. Actually, a better overall average than even Sebastian Bourdais, who holds just about any record that can be held in the ChampCar World Series, considering how short a time he's been in this championship. But that was just a brilliant performance by this entire team, but particularly hats off to Robert Doornbos for a great drive. He turned it on when he had to.
Robert Doornbos taking his 2nd win of the season over Neil Johnny and Oriol Servia. A bit of an unpredictable podium here. I don't think too many people would have called that one when the green flag fell on this race. Will Power finishing 4th ahead of Sebastian Bourdais, was not gaining back as many points as he would have liked. And Graham Rahal, impressive to come back to 6th after that rookie mistake stalling in the pits.
Yeah, that's right. He was running strongly in the early stages, had a certainly up and down weekend, 2 crashes on Friday, but to come away with a top 6 finish, he'll be delighted with that. And Paul Tracy in 11th, the confirmation that Justin Wilson did get up to 13th, so 2 valuable championship points. Here is Robert Doornbos, and Cameron Steele is with our race winner.
Well, it looks like an exhausted Robert Doornbos. We have Paul Stoddard down here, Keith Wiggins and team owners congratulating him. Robert, would you have ever thought coming from 15th position you would have brought home the checkers today?
Do you like that? Do you like that? I like it. What a race, man. What a race. Thanks to all the boys. I mean, the car was great. It's so much bad luck the whole weekend, so I'm really, really happy now.
What about with the accident early in the race? What happened? The chaos ensues. The checkered flags are waving. My questions at this point are meaningless as the champagne is flying and he is going crowd surfing with the team. That's how Bobby D rocks it in victory lane.
Bobby D. Robert Doornbos there, brilliant effort by him. That was just a tremendous drive. Thanks, Cameron Steele. And he's a real character, this Robert Doornbos. Really not very particularly well known at all, but he's done an excellent job this afternoon and deservedly coming away with his 2nd victory of the campaign. And that is going to cement his 2nd position in the championship. And Cameron Steele.
All right, well, we got back over here with Robert Doornbos. We were calling you Bobby D. The accident in the first lap, what happened? Talk to us about it.
I knew it when we had such a bad qualifying. Basically, we couldn't run at all in quali, and then we start from the back. And you know you're in trouble then in the tight hairpin like that. So I was stopped. I was standing still, and still I hit somebody, and I climbed over somebody. And I mean, we got back to the pits, changed the nose, and then the car just felt good. I mean, the steering angle was bent, so I was on the straight, a bit leaning to the left. But I saw Yanni struggled, and I passed him, and this was mine. I feel it, so it's a great way to finish 2 bad weekends.
Congratulations, there you have it. Bobby D rocking home the gold trophy.
Certainly did his 6th top 5 finish of the season, and Will Power said going into this campaign, if he could minimize his errors, maybe he could go for the championship, and that certainly is on his mind for Team Australia this afternoon, and it's been a tremendous run for him. My thanks to all of our international viewers joining us today. And it's been a tremendous effort, I think, this afternoon. Just a great race. We saw Justin Wilson lose the lead to Sebastian Bourdais at the start. We've seen all sorts of dramas here, back and forth battles. But it's been Robert Doornbos that comes away with a magnificent victory in San Jose. Thank you to all our international viewers joining us today. For James Hinchcliffe, I'm Jeremy Shaw. Join us for round 10 of the ChampCar World Series, Road America, on Sunday, August 12th. Be sure to check your local listings for broadcast times. Thanks for joining us here. It's been a great race this afternoon. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Welcome back to the ChampCar season review and on to round 10 in Road America. Sebastian Bourdais with a 10-point lead from Robert Doornbos after round 9. Well, on the starting grid for round 10, Sebastian Bourdais 1.6 seconds quicker than his closest rival during qualifying. Absolutely amazing stuff. Just 2 days before this race, we learned that the Frenchman had been recruited by Scuderia Toro Rosso. to be a Formula One driver for the 2008 season. Sebastian Bourdais chasing his 4th consecutive ChampCar title. But an awful lot going on both on and off the track for Bourdais. It doesn't look like he's been affected in qualifying that 1.6 second margin. But how would he cope with all that additional pressure and stress and the desire to leave ChampCar on a positive note? Well, we'd find out at the start of the race, round 10, Road America, the 2007 ChampCar season. And Sebastian Bourdais in the familiar position of starting a race out in front.
Another textbook start from Sebastian Bourdais. It's very close at the back of the field. You saw the 2 4-side championship racing cars appear to be side by side, coming off turn 1, plunging downhill into turn 3. Somebody stalled on the grid. I think it was one of the PCM cars, perhaps Alex Figge, towards the back of the pack, but everybody else got through cleanly. On board here with Justin Wilson. That is Tristan Gomedy making a move down the outside, or it'll be the inside line going to turn 5, James.
Very downhill braking into turn 5. The draft down these straightaways as we see 3 wide here, 3 wide, and there's contact. Both Forsyth cars, a PCM car, a Forsyth car, and of course it's Pagenaud in the Team Australia car.
Yeah, and looks like Ryan Dial is going to come off worse. I'm pretty sure we're going to go full course trailer. There is confirmation the pits will be closed, and that is just. You could see it coming up, couldn't you, James? You were 3 abreast down into turn 5, and that ain't going to work, is it?
It really isn't. But the thing about Road America is with these long straights, a fantastic draft you get as we go to a replay here. It's just so inviting. And you see Pagenaud tries to make it 3 wide there. Tracy just stuck in the middle. Sorry, Ryan Dial just stuck in the middle. Really has nowhere to go. And ultimately, I think that was just Pagenaud being a little bit too aggressive on the first lap there.
Yeah, he was so disappointed to qualify way back on the grid. I don't think he made a particularly good start either. Well, he can't have done because he was trying to pass Paul Tracy, who certainly started behind him on the grid. And as you say, I think a little bit too impetuous there from the Frenchman. This race 1 year ago, this event 1 year ago, he clinched the Atlantic Championship and the $2 million prize that enabled him to get a ride this year with Walker Racing Team Australia. And this was his worst qualifying performances of the season for Simon Pagenaud. I think trying to make up too much ground too early here in the Generac Grand Prix of Road America. Here is Dan Clark. There he goes. So the stop is completed for Dan Clark. Speedy Dan Clark. He's been very speedy this afternoon, and he's saved some fuel as well. Let's see where he comes out in relation to the other front runners. There go a couple of them, and he comes out ahead of Robert Doornbos. So the 2 Minardi Team USA cars. Dan Clark, he's on cold tires, remember, so Robert Doornbos has to take advantage going down into turn 3 and does exactly that. And Graham Rahal is also going to try and take advantage of that fact as well. Dan Clark slotted in there between these 2 cars, and now though Graham Rahal's got a big run down the hill towards turn 5 and has the preferred inside line, but look at the toe they get. Oh my goodness, as Dan Clark dives to the inside. Great racing, James.
That was such a difficult position for Dan Clark. He was absolutely snookered. He was stuck. He had a great draft on Robert Doornbos. Graham Rahal looks on the inside of turn 6. Very difficult place to pull off a move. Dan, he had the draft from Robert Doornbos, but Graham was right beside him. He could not do anything with it and was actually quite forceful. Pushed Rahal over to the side a little bit and kind of said, look, I'm going to go for it. And on cold tires, I must say I'm incredibly impressed that he's held off Graham and even tried to take a stab at his teammate there.
No love lost between these 2 contenders here, Dan Clark and Graham Rahal. Think back to the very first race of the season. Graham Rahal making his ChampCar debut at Las Vegas, away from the start line. It was a rolling start, you remember, in Las Vegas. But Dan Clark moved across the track, according to Graham Rahal, and pushed him into the wall as they took the green flag. But now Rahal looks down to the inside again in the corner.
He's going to go wide. I think there may have been a little bit of contact there, but it seems like both cars have gotten away with it. That was very, very close. Graham was extremely late on the brakes. That was a very bold move, but I must say he pulled it off with class. That that could not have been pulled off by a lot of drivers. Very heads-up stuff from Graham Rahal.
That was a remarkable move, wasn't it, by Graham Rahal? He knew he had to seize that opportunity. Dan Clark still working to get those tyres up to temperature, up to their optimal working temperature, and he knew he had to seize the opportunity, and he's done exactly that. But look at that in the background there. It's Oriol Servia for Forsyth Championship Racing. He's come up from 14th on the grid, and he's now running in 5th position. So it's Sebastian Bourdais who leads here, and there is that battle between the Minardi Team USA cars, and it is Robert
Doornbos. That's Doornbos.
Dan Clark had got past him there, and Robert Doornbos misjudged his approach to turn 5.
Okay, let me try and break this one down for you. As you can see, the front wing stuck under the car, under the nose of that car. Dan Clark had got on the power to pass out of corner 3, got a great run. As you can see, he's trying to swerve and get the wing out. That's not going to help. Oh, this is just really unfortunate for one of the championship contenders. So heading down into turn 5, Dan had gotten a great run, had made the pass, had made it so well he got completely past Robert Doornbos. As Robert Doornbos runs off,
that's one way of getting rid of the debris.
Yeah, it's one way of doing it. Maybe not to the likes of the guys behind him who are now shattered in carbon fiber bits. So Dan had been completely past him to the point where Robert then pulled back in line to try and get the draft again and just misjudged the braking, Jeremy, and ran right over the back of Dan's car. The question now is whether or not Dan's car is damaged at all. And you can see through the carousel, Robert Doornbos having to go so slow with no front wing, holding up Jan Halen and Tristan Gomedy, who are racing for position.
And now through the kink there, that's going to be dodgy without a front wing on that car. So that will enable also Alex Figge, who's doing a nice job this afternoon for the Pacific Coast Motorsport team. Bit of a call for Alex there as he sneaks alongside and he makes the pass. Was it? Yeah, there is Figge going past, and as you can see, Robert Doornbos. It certainly looked like, I don't think you could pin any blame on that incident between these two Minardi Team USA cars on Dan Clark. It was Robert Doornbos, I would say, certainly from my first look at it, who made the misjudgment going into that corner. He passed again there by Bruno Junqueira, and now we'll see Robert Doornbos on pit lane.
I'd love to see a replay of that, just kind of see exactly how it all broke down and the kind of time frame of what happened. But ultimately, Jeremy, yeah, it's one of the things where, you know, the guy in the, ask any insurance company, the guy who hits from the back, he's pretty much guilty as charged. So Robert Doornbos is going to come in now, pit for a wing, but this has really ruined his afternoon.
So there is Robert Doornbos. He brings that car onto pit lane. The guys will go to work.
Just hang out here. Mark, a good long vent will pack and full of fuel nicely. Thank you.
Cameron Steele is
guys, down here in the pit, you can see frustration in Robert Doornbos' face, ripping his tear-offs off his helmet and throwing him to the side and working on getting the nose cone replaced. And it looks like they took a look at a couple other items on the car. No other damage, it doesn't seem like, but it's taken some time to get this done, and unfortunately a frustrating moment for Doornbos.
Intense frustration there, and as we saw 2 weeks ago in San Jose, the onus is on the guy behind. In that case, it was Dan Clark. This time, the boot was on the other foot as the other Minardi Team USA cars.
You're on setup mode.
A problem for one of the Team Australia cars, that is Will Power, the other championship contender. So Robert Doornbos just been in the pits, and now an unscheduled pit stop for Will Power. This is exactly what Sebastian Bourdais needs in his quest to win a 4th consecutive championship.
Not only are these guys both out, Sebastian is out in front by quite a margin, although Graham Rahal is running very, very quick, slightly quicker than Sebastian at this point of the race. So Graham Rahal is looking extremely racy, as we've seen, extremely quick, but Sebastian Bourdais is sitting very pretty in the overall championship picture right now.
Oh boy, isn't he just? So problems here. Yeah, so some sort of electrical problem. That was Derek Walker on the radio there saying change the electronic control unit on the cars, the engine management system, and it's just a disaster for Les Shannon and the boys there on that car. But here's again a replay of that action. You can see there that Robert Doornbos just left his braking way too late. It looked like going down into turn 5, James.
It's such an easy trap to get into when Dana had such a good run and managed to get all the way past him. And then here's again a replay of him running off. Of course, the car understeering greatly with a front wing stuck underneath it. Just ask Paul Tracy. He experienced something similar in Toronto this year. So here it is. He just misjudged the braking, tried to go down a little bit too late. And you know, Dan is so lucky his car did not get any damage.
Not even a puncture?
And I can say there's no damage because the last lap that he completed, he was only 1/100th slower than Graham Rahal, so he's still very much on the pace. Knowing Sebastian, he still has 30 seconds left in his cars with power to pass, and yes, actually you can see he's on it right now. He probably is going to try to make his last lap the fastest lap of the race. Very Sebastian Bourdais, really stamp his authority down.
Yeah, and Robert Doornbos has just actually done a 1:44.508, which was within a couple of tenths of a second of Sebastian Bourdais' best. So we heard he was going out there, out of the pits, trying to get that fastest lap bonus championship point. And there again, look at that flashing red light at the back of the Newman Haas racing car.
He's on it again, and with 300 extra RPM, 50 extra horsepower down these long straights of Road America, he is going to gain a lot of time. He's now on the brakes into corner 5, and he still has 10 seconds left, Jeremy. That means he's got one shot left for that final straight down to Canada corner. I reckon that this is going to be one incredible lap time.
Yeah, he's looking at a potential qualifying lap here, is Sebastian Bourdais. We saw yesterday how devastating he was in qualifying. Took the pole with a 1:41.535. That was absolutely astonishing. Just left everybody firmly in their wake. The fastest lap record here is a 1:44.133. So that's just a 2/10 of a second away from that now is Sebastian Bourdais, and he's on the course power to pass, we believe, going down the back straight through the kick there at about 170 miles an hour, building up to 190 on Kettle Bottoms before he gets heavily on the anchors here for Canada corner, turn 12, right-handed there, up the hill one more, up through the gears, through the kink there, left-handed under where the Billy Mitchell Bridge used to be. Now that huge runoff area, great job here at Road America. Down onto the brakes again for the final corner, turn 14. It's Sebastian Bourdais. It's been his weekend. He's looking for his 4th consecutive championship, and he's got his 4th win of the season, his 5th win of the season now for Sebastian Bourdais. Jubilation in the Newman Haas Lanigan racing pit, and look at that, a new fastest lap as well, a 1:44.346 for Sebastian Bourdais. We saw Paul Newman on the pit wall. There is the celebratory fireworks after another imperious performance by our champion Sebastian Bourdais.
Well, after round 10 of the season at Road America, the ChampCar Series packed up its bags in late August for the trip to Europe, racing on the old continent for the first time since 2003. And the man most came out to see was the 3-time Vanderbilt Trophy winner, France's Sebastian Bourdais. Unquestionably the star of this first European race of the season, runner Zolder in Belgium. And numerous supporters made the trip over from France, Belgium and elsewhere to see the current championship leader and future Formula One driver. 2 weeks earlier it was announced that Bourdais would race for Toro Rosso in 2008, and that added to the buzz at Zolder between ChampCar's return to Europe and Bourdais' newfound notoriety. This Belgian round naturally took on great importance.
It's like a Cleveland thing.
The man himself is more than aware of it, although he's already hard at work with his race engineer working on the detailed plans.
So if you trust it, it's all right. You feel it. Oh, yeah. Ça, c'est bien. Quand t'as 4 dixièmes d'avance sur les meilleurs speeds, ça, c'est bien. Je crois que la magie de ChampCar, entre guillemets, fait son effet ici.
Well, I believe the ChampCar magic has done its job here. There are a lot of people who are nostalgic for the days when Formula One raced at Zolder, and those who come up to get close and snort with the drivers, take photos asking for autographs and experience all the action up close. A lot of people are growing frustrated with F1. There's a public for both series, but here it's different. There was the F1 announcement that has also put the spotlight on me a little more, for sure. I've had to do a lot of media stuff the past few days, which has taken up a lot of my time. F1, nothing more than just the name, has brought me something. It's something you can't escape from.
Well,
Sebastian can't escape the work that needs to be done either to prepare for a ChampCar race. Craig Hampson has been Sebastian's engineer ever since he arrived in the States, and he knows better than anyone what Sebastian has brought to the team and what he means to Newman Haas Lanigan.
He's a really hard worker. He really works at his craft. He studies the data. He thinks about the setup. He reads every report I write and I send to him. And we appreciate that, particularly within a team like Newman Haas Lanigan, where we pride ourselves on our engineering and the setup of the car. So he fits in very well with the way we approach our motor racing. And he's a good guy. He's an inherently good human being. He takes good care of the crew. Every time we win, he takes us all out to dinner, and I think that costs him a lot of money. But you know, he makes gestures like that that make it known that we, and from me down to the truck drivers, the mechanics, everybody, makes it known that he appreciates us, and we appreciate that. It's been really special, you know, and we're sad to see him go, because without him we might not win as many races, and it's been a good working relationship. But on the other hand, I think everybody within the team feels like he deserves the chance to be in Formula One. And at the beginning of his career with us, we were all really confused why he wasn't in Formula One, because he seemed good enough to be there, and it's nice to see him get an opportunity now.
Well, while waiting to start his Formula One career, Sebastian still had 4 races to close out his ChampCar career. It's clear that he's the man to beat every race. His closest rivals know they have a long way to go to match the performances of Bourdais and his trusty team.
I think it's a good team. It's the underdog compared to Numanas. We know that we still have a lot to learn compared to you know, Sebastian and his team. They won many championships, 100 victories, and but yeah, we're doing a good job, and we're enjoying it. That's the best thing.
I think Sebastian leaving is, you know, I think that he's got a lot of experience in ChampCar, so he's at the moment very tough to beat. I mean, I'm only in my 2nd year, and you know, he's been in the same team for 5 years with the same guys, same engineer, same engine, tyre, ChampCar. You know, the cars haven't changed that much, so you know, I think his experience does him a lot of good. And yeah, I'm for sure next year I think it's going to be a very tight title fight. You're going to have a lot of guys who are, you know, in their 2nd year, and they're also teams in the 2nd year of this car. So I think that next year will be one of the tightest years for a championship chase ever.
Well, Will Power seems to have the right idea for now, though. He just has to accept the dominance of the Frenchman. Power will be back next year when the playing field will be slightly more even. But in the meantime, there was a race to be run at Zolder, and Bourdais once again put the hammer down when it mattered, taking pole position, his 5th of the season. He's looking to give his many fans who'd come over from France and around the world to Belgium, to Zolder, what they came to see. Spectacular stuff from Bourdais, and very soon we'll be able to go to the original live American commentary for the start of round 11 of the season from Zolder in Belgium.
Jeremy Shaw, alongside me as usual is James Hinchcliffe. James, we've already had plenty of action this weekend, and Dan Clark has been banished to the sidelines.
He certainly has, Jeremy, and all the drama began starting Friday morning's practice session, where 4-car pileup, including local hero Jan Halen, as you see at the top of your screen, occurred on the outlap. Now, race director Tony Cotman lays blame for this crash squarely at the feet of Dan Clark. And we're going to go now to Bill Stevens, who is standing by with the race director, Tony Cotman, with his thoughts on the accident.
In fact, Rick, you'll remember that 2 races ago in San Jose, Dan Clark was put on probation after driving into the back of Justin Wilson during a yellow caution period. I'm with Tony Cotman right now. Tony, you've reviewed the incident. What was your decision?
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things that Dan was on probation, obviously, and really didn't leave me a lot of options to what we could do. So I suspended him for this event, and all going well. We'll see him back next race.
All right, we should have a decision on Friday, Rick.
All right, Bill, well, this is not the first. Be interesting to see what happens there. So certainly suspended for this race, may be back at TT Circuit Assen in 1 week's time. Let's have a look at some of the incidents that Dan Clark has been involved in this year. It really started out at Portland. He was involved in an incident with Graham Rahal. Look at this, on the back straight, puts him onto the grass at 165 miles an hour. Graham Rahal was not impressed. In San Jose, oh, he took out the race leader, Justin Wilson, and that was under yellow flag. And then a couple of laps later, he came in for a new nose and took it off again promptly at the restart. And then last time out at Road America, he had passed Robert Doornbos, his Minardi Team USA teammate, who's going for the championship. And let's have a look now with what Dan Clark thinks about the penalty.
On his decision, and I'm just looking at it all from the bigger picture, much like Tony is as well. So I don't feel anything negative towards that at all, and I can't wait for the next race.
We going to get ready for the start. It'll be a standing start, of course, in the ChampCar World Series. The lights will come on in sequence. When they go out, then we will be racing. And as you can see, the back of the field beginning now to line up. There goes Alex Figge, pulls into the final position. And in a few seconds now, the light sequence will begin. And then you see the green flag being waved at the back of the field. That gives the race director, Tony Cotman, the signal that everybody is in place for the standing start. Like an excellent start for the poles in the Sebastian Bourdais, and Bruno Junqueira looked like he lost out a little bit there, and perhaps also maybe Robert Doornbos made a move into second place ahead of Will Power. Yes, he did. On board here with Will Power. That is Robert Doornbos heading through that flat out turn here onto the back straight away, and leading now down to the first of the chicanes for the first time, and a huge lead for Sebastian Bourdais.
He's really got a good start, a lot of jockeying for position in the back. We saw a few drivers on the cusp with power to pass, heading down that straightaway into turn 5, the first big braking zone. Down the hill now, they're heading into turn 7, on board with Jan Halen.
And Jan Halen, he was very outspoken after that incident on Friday morning, in which his car was very badly damaged. And of course, the Conquest Racing team, it's just a one-car team this year. It's a local team, effectively. Eric Bachelard is from Belgium, Jan Halen is from Belgium, and they had so high hopes coming into the weekend, but they lost all of Friday, and it was really a very good job by Jan Halen to come back yesterday and make it into the 11th place on a very tightly packed grid.
It was really impressive run for him. Obviously disappointing to lose as much track time as he did, as we ride on board now with Justin Wilson. But like you say, Jeremy, a good comeback for them, and he's just looking for a good, strong race now.
Yeah, he is, and you can see Justin Wilson also has made it ahead of Bruno Junqueira there. Bruno, in qualifying, 4th on the grid for Delcoin Racing. That equals the best ever start for Delcoin Racing. It was also 4th on the grid for Gualter Salas back at Long Beach in 1998. Delcoin, of course, he's been in this championship since 1984, and that again is just his second row start in what is now his 300th race event for Delcoin Racing. They had 500 starts because often, of course, they've run 2 cars in a race. Sometimes they haven't. Sometimes they've been running as a 1-car entry. But this is the 300th race in which Delcoin Racing has been involved in the ChampCar World Series. And Bruno Junqueira has been strong all weekend. And his teammate Catherine Legg, she didn't really get a proper chance to show what she could do in qualifying. She was off, had an incident on Saturday morning, so lost some track time there. And also this morning in the warm-up, she was off the road on the very first lap when a rear wheel fell off her car. So finger trouble there, I believe it was, that caused that problem. On board now, though, Will Power looking ahead to Robert Doornbos, who is now beginning to put some pressure on Sebastian Bourdais.
He's certainly not letting him get away, Jeremy. He's really enjoyed this track since they got there. All the drivers have. It's been a favorite since Friday morning when they first got to taste the track here at Zolder. It's very smooth, very fast track, very high grip, a little bit of elevation, different mixture of corners. Everybody seems to really enjoy racing here. And Justin Wilson, he takes advantage of the situation, gets on the inside of Graham Rahal, catches him off guard. Brilliant heads-up driving.
Brilliant heads-up driving, as you say, from Justin Wilson. He glimpsed that opportunity and he took it with both hands. And it's now Justin Wilson that looms large in the mirrors of Bruno Junqueira. They come out of that turn 5 chicane one more time, up the hill again. Coming out of the final chicane now and down towards turn 1. It's Justin Wilson has to run down the inside line, and he takes over what is now 5th position.
He goes a little bit wide. Does Bruno maybe get him back on the exit? Yes, he does, as does Graham Rahal. Whoa. It's all gone wrong for Justin Wilson. A little bit too quick into the first corner, went wide, and both cars managed to high-low him, as we call it. Sure, from the outside, cut back to the inside, and now Will Power right on the gearbox of the CDW car.
Great racing here in the closing stages. Less than 20 minutes to go in this race. Let's have a replay of what happened here. Coming down the hill, it was Gourmandi who I think took Rahal a little bit off guard, and Justin Wilson takes full advantage, dives down the inside. A perfectly clean pass. We'd heard the drivers saying coming into this race, they thought, it's a relatively narrow track here. They didn't think there was going to be a lot of overtaking, but there has been lots of overtaking, hasn't it? Particularly in the last couple of laps.
And Will Power is now got by Justin Wilson. It's all gone wrong. He had such a great move there on Graham Rahal. Watching that replay, I could see how his mind was working as a driver. It was great. It was just such a well-planned move, but then trying to get a little bit too optimistic, I guess, on Bruno Junqueira, a little bit too quick in the first corner, and he's been thrown off his rhythm, and it's all gone wrong now. He's lost 3 positions adjustments in the last lap. So just heartbreaking stuff, but great racing here at Zolder.
There are the checkered flags, and it's Sebastian Bourdais who comes away with yet another victory, the 29th of his career, the 103rd for Newman Haas Lanigan Racing. And let's have a look battle for second place. We want to see whether Bruno Junqueira can hold him off.
He does. He's crossed the line. Bruno Junqueira has held off for a podium position. That's second place for Dale Coyne Racing and Bruno. That is just fantastic stuff. You guys can't see it, but I'm standing up in the booth right now, giving a round of applause, standing ovation. That is just fantastic result.
Yeah, that is awesome for both of you guys. Another exemplary display from this man. Number one is Sebastian Bourdais, as he has been so often this season. That is win number 6 in just 11 starts this season for Sebastian Bourdais. But yeah, hats off to Bruno Junqueira. Did he make it? He did make it across the line, didn't he?
He did.
Okay, great, because I didn't see him there in the picture as they came around onto the back straightaway. Look at that jubilation amongst the Newman Haas Lanigan Racing team. There's Claire Bourdais there down there in the pit lane getting a hug from these guys, and they've worked so hard, this entire Newman Haas Lanigan Racing team. We talked about it earlier on. In 5 of the 7 races he's finished this year, they've had the least time in the pit lane. There again, that's Claire Bourdais. Of course, their first baby was born less than a year ago. They're going to be moving back to Europe next year, and there is Sebastian Bourdais receiving the plaudits from this crowd. And once again, this guy is super special. My name is Jeremy Shaw, alongside me as usual James Hinchcliffe, fresh off a test at Silverstone for A1GP Team Canada. James, Sebastian Bourdais has virtually rewritten the ChampCar record books, has another opportunity to make history this afternoon.
He does, Bass by clinching his 4th consecutive championship. Ted Horn did 3 consecutive back in the 40s. No one's ever done 4, and it's a bit of a tall order this afternoon, but as we've seen so many times in the past, this man, Sebastian Bourdais, really excels in these high-pressure situations, so we could potentially see history made this afternoon.
The bottom line, if Bourdais scores 14 points more than Robert Doornbos, he will clinch that 4th consecutive Vanderbilt Cup title. As you can see, the virtually has a lock on the championship, perhaps does Bourdais, but Robert Doornbos is still very much in this fight for second place. He leads Will Power by 9 points right now. A lot of pressure on him this weekend.
It's a very big weekend for any driver racing in their hometown, and for him it's his home country. He doesn't get this opportunity. There's a lot of extra media attention, a lot more sponsor interest, and of course just the personal pressure that he'll be putting on himself. I know he's not too happy with how he qualified this afternoon, but let me tell you, this team, as we've seen so many times this season, can take a mediocre qualifying and turning it into a stunning race performance.
Justin Wilson squeezing to the inside of Sebastian Bourdais. This is a very fast circuit, but it's also relatively narrow and pretty tight as well. Overtaking opportunities very much at a premium here. That was a brilliant start by Justin Wilson.
It was blistering off the line. I mean, he was starting from the dirty side of the racetrack as they head into the hairpin. That's turn 5, sliding a little bit wide. Sebastian looking, Johnny getting racy. I think there was a bit of jockeying for position back there. I think
Bourdais got a problem. Bourdais got a problem. He's slowed coming out of that corner. It's awfully difficult. You can't really miss a gear with these sequential boxes and the paddle shifting on these cars, but clearly some sort of a hiccup there coming out of that very tight turn 5 for our championship leader, Sebastian Bourdais.
Going through turn 7 now, all eyes are on him. He seems to have got back up to pace. Not sure if maybe he lost second gear or something because he was slow out of that very tight hairpin, and also that would have hurt him off the line if he was missing maybe second gear. So we'll have to look now, but we're getting where there's a full course caution on the track.
Yes, indeed, and instantly the guys are off the throttle here. We hear that car number 3 is off the road. That's Paul Tracy off in turn 1. That would be a disaster for PT, and that's a great shame for PT because he's not really been struggling all weekend. He's had the pace this weekend, unlike in several other recent races this season. But in qualifying, he had a mechanical problem, and then also in the warm-up this morning, ditto. So PT just the luck not going his way this weekend, and he's off the road. The crowd there out on the far end of the racetrack, and great vantage points here, big spectator banking. There's 100,000 permanent seats here at Assen, just a remarkable place. And all the way around the rest, or much of the way around the rest of the racetrack, these big earthen embankments where the fans can sit and just soak up the action. And just talking to everybody this morning, the crowd is beginning to pour in at 6 o'clock this morning. And it's just a great feeling. And several of the teams and drivers have been telling us they have these sort of porter cabins where they use for their engineering debriefs, and just to get from those cabins to the pit lane garages can take them quite a few minutes to get across what has been a packed garage area this weekend. The Dutch fans really enjoying the access they get to the ChampCar drivers. Here we are, they're getting ready for action now on the pit lane. It'll be down to the pit crews now as everybody is onto pit lane for service. Bill Stevens is going to be in the Roosport pit, getting ready for our race leader, Justin Wilson.
And his crew is ready. This looks like a wholesale tire sale along pit road. Every team coming in just about. Justin is in. Let's see what they do with the fuel. Primary tires on. The reds have come off, but watch the fuel filler. It's out. And Johnny looked like he took a full load. It just gets out ahead of Neil Johnny.
Sure, he took on, I think everybody would have taken on a full load here, Bill, but as you can see there, apparently no change at the front apart from Jan Halen, who's jumped ahead of Sebastian Bourdais. Fabulous work by Conquest Racing there, and this is just great news for those guys. This little team, just a one-car team, all the other teams along pit lane, two-car outfits, of course, that's a big benefit for them. They get all the data from two drivers to compare with a brand new DP01 chassis this year. It's certainly one would think it would help the teams to have two cars, but Conquest Racing, not only is one of the smaller budget teams, but just one car to work with and two different drivers, which doesn't make it any easier either. But great pit work there by Conquest Racing.
Ken, they really did do a good job, but as you just saw going out of your screen there, Bourdais did not pit, so he is actually in the lead of this race right now. Justin Wilson has come out behind him. I'm not sure if there's anyone else who did not pit, but we certainly saw Bruno stay out there. And here's a replay of Justin pulling out of the pits with Neil Johnny just right behind him. That was a close call. I mean, and another one there with, contact so nearly between Gombody and Rahal.
And it's a pretty narrow pit lane here in Assen, of course. It's primarily built as a motorcycle track, so we don't need a lot of width on the racetrack, or I should say in the pit lane. And Porsche Racing here is out of the car number 3, the Index car, and PT, just a dreadful weekend for him. It's Justin Wilson the lead by 6.5 seconds over Jan Halen. Bruno Junqueira in third, about 5 seconds behind Halen, and actually gaining ground quite rapidly, about half a second a lap. Junkie is pulling into the advantage that Jan Halen has, and behind Junqueira is Gomondi, and then they get back to this battle here with Neil Johnny struggling now to hold off Simon Pagenaud and Sebastian Bourdais, and Johnny, he's dropping back a little bit in the later stages as well. He too on the red sidewall tires. Glimpse of the grandsons there. There's over 100,000 seats here at TC Turkey at Assen. A big crowd on hand, and they are absolutely enjoying what has been a fascinating motor race. Here's Neil Johnny in the Red Bull car of PKV Racing. He and his PKV Racing teammate Tristan Gombody started on the second row of the grid, and third and fourth positions, and now running fourth and fifth.
Still very respectable, obviously. I mean, that's a very good result for them. They've been quick all weekend. You know, that qualifying pace was by no means a fluke. Every session they've really been up there, so it's great to see. I mean, hopefully we can see in the final two races them kind of continue this recent form as we see things getting very racy back here. Sebastian Bourdais, obviously he'd like to try and make up as many points on Robert as possible, but at the same time, it is not worth going out at this stage in the championship with the kind of lead that he has.
This battle, it really is building up, isn't it? It's a battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Neil Johnny just ahead of Simon Pagenaud, and Pagenaud now really coming under increasing pressure from Sebastian Bourdais. It's Tristan Gomondi who's ahead of these guys, who has still set the fastest lap of the race at 1:21.070. Last time around, let's see what laps anybody was doing. Gomondi actually the quickest man on track at a 21.3. Boy, that's a good effort. And he's closing in on Bruno Junqueira as a battle potentially for third and fourth. And these guys, Neil Johnny, turned a 1:23.7, so 2.5 seconds slower was Neil Johnny than his PKV Racing teammate Tristan Gomondi.
And it really is showing. I mean, he is holding up the cars behind him, and you can see now behind Bourdais as he maybe tries an outside line around Simon Pagenaud. He's just getting creative at this point, but you're seeing the train of Sergio Rahal catching up as well. And even Ryan Dial running now in the 10th position, not that far behind. So Neil Johnny is definitely holding up this queue of cars.
He's made the pass. Look at that. But
Oh, that's a tough place to try and make it. They're holding side by side through turn 7. That's a flat-out corner. That was a very optimistic move from Sebastian Bourdais. It was not pulled off, and now he's under attack from Oriol Servia.
Great racing here, and there is Graham Rahal at the back of this pack as well. You just mentioned Ryan Dalziel. Hats off to him for Pacific Coast Motorsports. He's done an excellent job this afternoon.
Justin Wilson emerges from the car, waves the checkered flag, and gets a tremendous ovation from this crowd here at Assen. Justin, big hug for the crew. Justin, the day began with question. You had a problem with the car, but your crew really came through for you today, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a fantastic job, and the car was working great. So that first 2 stints, we're just trying to pace ourselves, keep everything in order, and after that, it was flat out for the last part of the race, and you know, we had the pace for one, so it feels good. You know, after this morning, we were struggling with, couldn't get the warm-up done, so it's just great to get the CDW number 9 car on the top 10 for the podium.
Nice job, Justin.
Yeah, certainly a tremendous job, and he did have the pace. He's been quick all day, has Justin Wilson. Talking of quick, the fastest lap of the race was set by Dan Clark in the closing stages after that final splash and go pit stop. So kudos to Dan Clark, who will get a championship point. So look at the championship standings, 58 points now, the lead that Sebastian Bourdais has over Justin Wilson. So pretty much just by starting the race at the Lexmark Grand Prix at Surfers Paradise in a few weeks' time, Bourdais will clinch his 4th title, but he won't be able to do it until then. Robert Doornbos is now out of the reckoning for the championship, and Bill Stevens.
Down here with a very happy Bruno Junqueira, and for the 2nd week in a row, we're meeting on the podium. What a great turnaround for your team, Bruno.
Yeah, very happy, I think. It's really good, 2 podiums in a row. A little bit like that because we lost the lead on the last pit stop. We had a problem with the PLC that engaged at 40 miles where I was 75, so I lost like at least 2 or 3 seconds coming to the pits. So we lost the lead there. But anyway, I'm very happy for the whole Delcoin team to get to the podium.
Nice job, Bruno.
And then Stefan Dwornik there congratulating Bruno. He's one of the race engineers here, and Bruno's sister Gianna and Terry Brown there as well with the glasses. Just a great bunch of guys here at Delcoin Racing. They love their motor racing, and they work hard at it as well. And Bruno Junqueira delivered with another brilliant performance this weekend, and he comes away with a 3rd place finish. 2nd place, meanwhile, for Jan Halen. A warm welcome to the penultimate round of this year's ChampCar World Series. I'm Jeremy Shaw. With me today, sitting in for James Hinchcliffe, is Ryan Dalziel. Ryan, thanks for joining us. I know you'd much rather be behind the wheel of a ChampCar, especially in Surfers Paradise.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy. Of course I would, but you know, Surfer Paradise is a great track, fast, bumpy, exciting, anything can happen. And even not driving is fun to be part of this.
Yeah, just a tremendous atmosphere as ever here on the Gold Coast. Over 300,000 people expected over the weekend. Lots of storylines this weekend. One of them, of course, as ever, is Sebastian Bourdais. He's looking to become the first man ever to win 4 consecutive championships in the ChampCar World Series. But his week did not start well, doing a promotional event a few miles up the coast here on the Gold Coast, and all went wrong at the wheel of a Subaru WRX rally car. And it didn't get much better for Sebastian Bourdais. He crashed here on the streets on Friday as well in first qualifying. The other man, of course, that everybody is looking at this weekend, Will Power, just born in Tour, but just up again, just a few miles away from Surfers Paradise. 1 year ago, though, Sebastian Bourdais made a very optimistic lunge down there at turn 3. That contact put Will Power out of the race, and he is looking to set the record straight right now, 1 year later. Lots of driver changes this weekend at Four-Side Championship Racing. Oriol Servia out. In comes David Martinez from Mexico. At PKV Racing, Tristan Gomendi out. Servia just slots right in there. At PCM, Ryan Dalziel is alongside me this weekend, ousted for Mario Dominguez for the last 2 races of the season. And at Conquest Racing, Jan Halen, despite a magnificent run to 2nd at Assen, he's out, replaced by Nelson Philly here on the Gold. 16 years we've been racing here, and has a repeat winner. This weekend, 5 drivers, Ryan, have to set that good straight. So once again, it's been a fabulous event, a huge crowd on hand, this magnificent event, and it's been Will Power who's led the early stage, but pit stops now underway. So here, this is Will Power, the local favourite from Pumba in Queensland, Team Australia, and there is Oriol Servia. I think in this race, for Tristan Gomendi, did believe there was some sort of an incident on pit, and there is Will Power, and comes to contact with David Martinez. How that could happen, Will could let's be on to pit lane. It's killing Nancy, really.
You know, imagine Martinez swinging in front of him here.
Oh no. What a mistake. And that bad save earlier. Usual, generous Derek Walker, who wants to drive. And cannot blame in this middle to make sure the race going.
I mean, there's only one guy in there in terms of Will pit. Yeah, you can actually see the front. It looks like front wish a tiny bit. This is pretty devastating. Will at this point. I mean, Gina's had nothing to do, and Will had nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, poor old Will. I mean, he's done everything right here. He made his debut right here in Australia 2 years ago. Was running well inside the top 10 when he was taken out by his then teammate Alex Tagliani, and then last year he dominated the early stages until taken out by Sebastian Bourdais, also in turn 3. But this time, well, it doesn't happen in turn 3. It happens in the pit lane for poor Will Power. Will Power will, we hope, for the crowd's sake here in Queensland, Australia, giving it the charge. He's up to 13. Uh-oh. Is that Will? I think it probably is, yeah. That's Catherine Legg and Will Power. That is a disaster. That certainly is the end of Will Power's hopes.
Yeah, that's done. He's done for the day. That's unfortunate. He was definitely... you know, in your home race, it's one of those things. You get so much more pressure on you, and you want to perform for your kind of country. So
there is Derek Walker, the team principal, one of the 2 team principals for Team Australia. Craig Gore, his co-owner. Unfortunately, Craig had a medical problem actually while he was flying his helicopter earlier in the week. He had a problem with his inner ear, needed surgery. Craig Gore is sitting back in his home here on the Gold Coast, unable to come to the races. So we wish Craig a speedy recovery. There's a replay of what happened between these two. And look, Will Power just got a bit desperate, trying to lunge down the inside. Here he is. He dives to the inside under braking, and that was never going to work.
You know, I'm not going to say until I seen a different replay. I mean, it's one of those things, and you know, Catherine's got to be honest with herself. It's
Will's nothing to do with Catherine Legg. She was well out of the way. She hadn't even turned into the corner, and Will lost it. That's my view of it.
Yeah, you know,
disagree?
Will's going to win the race, and Catherine's not. And you know, sometimes it's better just to get out of the way.
I think she got right out of the way. I don't think she was anything to do with that. When the car snapped sideways from Will Power, from my perspective, it looked like Will's car snapped sideways and collected Catherine as he was going past.
I mean, I'd like to see it from the front angle and see what happened to cause him to get sideways. Because the car from the back angle, the car goes sideways, but there's a reason it goes sideways.
No, it's pretty bumpy down there in turn 8. It always has been. It's a difficult place to make a pass. You've got to be absolutely alongside someone there. If you're going to make a pass, you've got to make that pass early and make sure the driver knows you're there. And I don't think that was the case there. Look at the reception that Will's going to get, but he will be bitterly disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing crashing out in a race, and there's nothing crashing out in front of your home race with 300,000 people there. So, you know, the emotion you threw him just now it's going to be sickening for him.
Well, now we can go on board. It's helmet cam. It's Nelson Philippe in Surfer's Paradise. Sit back and enjoy the lap. It's all rather impressive stuff. Well, after Nelson Philippe's pyrotechnics, we can go back to the end of the race and a 4th title, very soon to be in the grateful hands of Sebastian Bourdais.
Time to make that call. That is what Kenny Seawick has done, and we will see this car number 1 on pit lane next time around.
These radios seem so much clearer when we hear them on these things. Like it doesn't seem that clear when you've got Cosworth strapped to your back.
There's a mistake from Sebastian Bourdais. Left his braking a little bit too late there at the end of the Esplanade. He jumps all the way over the curbs.
You know, that really didn't cost him any time. He'll be okay with that. And I don't know. This is going to be interesting. I think Justin's going to come out ahead of him here.
It's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The gap between the two as they came across the line last time was just 34 seconds it was shown. Actually, what happened there? My scoring vaulted from 26 to 34. I don't know why that was. But let's have a look again at the replay here as he just locks up a little bit that left front brake going into the Bourdais chicane. And you're right, it really won't have cost him too much time, but you don't want to make too many errors like that.
Yeah, he's okay with that. He's coming in.
Solid stop here, car 1 through the bunny. Right on the mark 7.
This is where Newman Haas are at their best, though. This is there's going to be no faults here.
Bill Stevens is in the Newman Haas Racing Lanigan pit for Bourdais' final pit stop of the day.
Sebastian is in. They're making a tire pressure adjustment to cut down on the understeer on the car. That may be the reason why he just botched that chicane a few moments ago. The tires are on. They're filling the car with fuel, and he's out. Can he preserve the lead?
Yeah, and he's on the black sidewall tires. That's an interesting call, Randy L.
Yeah, well, you know, most of the time, I think he's way ahead of him. Way ahead, not even close.
Yeah, not even close.
You know, the black tires are always the best 90% of the time towards the end of a street course race, and that's why you saw a lot of them. They have to use the alternate tire at least one lap under green in a race situation. That's why you see a lot of them run the red tire on the second stint. First stop, red tires. It gives you time to get them on, get them off, and then regain any positions that you may have lost or time you lost by using them. The red tire is faster, but only for a certain amount of time.
That's right, and here is Justin Wilson, and he's going to try as hard as he can, but that's a pretty big deficit that he's got to make up.
Bruno gets another podium for Dalecoin Racing at this point now.
Absolutely magnificent. He's done a super job again. Again, he's not been desperately fast, but he hasn't been in a position to go fast this afternoon, Bruno. He's been having to save fuel, but look at this. It's Sebastian Bourdais, another magnificent run. There are the checkered flags, and yet another win for Newman Haas Lanigan Racing, and for Sebastian Bourdais. Just amazing. Win number 30 for Sebastian Bourdais. That puts him just one win behind Paul Tracy. And he's just been stellar since he first came into this championship. He's the first man ever, the first repeat winner here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. You can see the jubilation in the Newman Haas Lanigan Racing pit. 4 in a row indeed for Sebastian Bourdais. That's he's the first man to win 2 races here in Surfers, and the first man ever to win 4 consecutive championships. There is going to be a party tonight, Randy L.
Bourdais takes the lead. Checkered flag is in the air.
Let's have a look at some of these great successes for Paul Newman there on the right and Carl Haas.
Congratulations, Sebastian.
Bourdais.
It's a great win. It's a great win. It's a great team effort.
Sebastian Bourdais getting the ceremonial shower of champagne as he wraps up his 4th consecutive ChampCar World Series championship. If he doesn't drown, maybe we can get a word with this great champion. Sebastian, we've had a chance to talk in the winner's circle a lot this year, but this has got to be the biggest one.
Yeah, just, you know, I can't thank this McDonald's crew enough. They put me there once again, you know, and I'm thinking really hard to Claire and Emma and my mom who are back in St. Pete, and this one's really sweet. This one's really, really sweet.
On Friday, when you crashed the car, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking, oh my, maybe I've just blown my chance to do it this weekend?
No, because I knew everything was going to happen on Saturday, but it's obviously a step back. You know, you crash the car, you lose the confidence, but this is the greatest group of people I worked with.
We'll let you enjoy the fruits of your labors. Thank you.
1 year ago, Sebastian Bourdais clinched the title here in Surfers Paradise with a very mediocre run to 8th place. This time, he does it in style with a magnificent victory, and that is win number 30 out of just 72 starts in the ChampCar World Series. Here is confirmation that he's with a 62-point lead. Sebastian Bourdais is the champion. Wilson extends his lead over Robert Doornbos to 6 points in the battle for second, and Will Power, with that disappointing run, falls back to a distant 4th place. Graham Rahal in that very tight battle for 5th on down, just ahead of Neil Jarni. Bruno.
Mexico City has a rich heritage in culture and in motor racing, and provides an appropriate setting for the 2007 ChampCar finale. Back in April, the streets of Las Vegas echoed to the launch of the 2007 ChampCar World Series. And during the ensuing 7 months, some impressive milestones have made for a memorable season. We saw the introduction of standing starts and all the inherent drama of a wheel-to-wheel dash to turn 1. There was a continuation of the supremacy of Sebastian Bourdais, who became the first man ever to win 4 consecutive championships. There was a period of significant growth as ChampCar returned to Europe and dazzled crowds on the continent. We also saw plenty of emerging talents, from a dynamic Dutchman to a winning wonder from down under, and even a homegrown rookie looking to expand a family tradition. Today, all the passion and performance that made up version 2007 of the ChampCar World Series will come to a head in Mexico City at the Tecate Grand Prix. It was clean at the front, but not for Oriol Servia. He was on the second row. He has stalled the PKV car. Farther back, Alex Tagliani and also Nelson Philippe have stalled their cars. We've got 3 cars stationary on the racetrack, and in the meantime it was Will Power trying to lead him down into the first corner, and with Sebastian Bourdais hot on his heels. As ever in the ChampCar World Series, the drivers have been told, instructed not to use their Cosworth Power to pass until they're around the first couple of corners. So it's just a clean drag race down to turn 1, but not for these 3 guys. That is Alex Tagliani, and he is going to piece the third on the totem pole. They're already toe-starting both Oriol Servia and Nelson Philippe, and there is Alex Tagliani still sitting forlornly on the line. There's only 2 safety cars on this part of the racetrack, so Tag will have to wait for the other pace car to troll on back and pull him. Here's a look at the restart. You can see Servia there, and look at that. Simon Pagenaud just squeaked by, James.
He did it. He actually ripped some of the banners off of pit wall there, and it didn't even look like Oriol moved. It almost looked like he was stalled before the lights went out. We didn't see his hands moving. Very, very quick hands by Simon Pagenaud to get around that car.
That was a phenomenal save and a great start from Will Power at the front of the grid.
Yeah, crucially, he had all the problems to be right on board with Graham Rahal now.
Oh, look at that PT making a great run off the row behind Graham Rahal.
And you can hear just how difficult it is to get 750 horsepower out of these Cosworth XFE engines through those Bridgestone tires and onto the racetrack. Very difficult indeed.
And here they're already lifting off. The yellow's already out. The drivers are told about. There is
Dan Clark.
Dan Clark. He stalled it out on the racetrack as well. Maybe the same sort of problem that Bourdais had. Well, Bourdais, when they went in the caution at Assen, you remember Bourdais, he went all the way up to gears to try and save some fuel, put into top gear right away, and he didn't have enough revs on the car to keep it going. Maybe that's the same problem that Dan Clark has.
Just sort of summarizes Dan Clark's season. He's just not really had the season he was hoping for. Not a lot of luck. Very unfortunate for him to be essentially out this early.
Yeah, he's back to using his matte black helmet rather than those his distinctive red and white stripes on Dan Clark's helmet, but it certainly has not brought him any luck this weekend.
And now Will Power's going to lead them back to the green. Now on the first lap, on the run down to the first corner, none of these drivers were allowed to use that Cosworth Power to pass. But this is a restart, Jeremy. Everything is fair play. So let's see who does what and get ready for a little bit of excitement into this first corner.
Yeah, here's this very tight chicane before the famed Peraltada here. Slightly banked, right-hander absolutely flat out it is, particularly coming away under a full course caution. Hard on the power. A great restart there by Will Power. Takes the line about 75 yards ahead of Sebastian Bourdais. And in third place, Robert Doornbos under pressure from Justin Wilson.
He got clean by him, and Robert Doornbos has pulled off to the side. He has a problem as well. The second Minardi Team USA car has pulled off. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen. So Justin Wilson clean by and into turn 1. And other than that, it seemed like it was a pretty clean restart. Not too much shuffling going on.
What a shame for Robert Doornbos. He was struggling here on Friday, the first time he's ever seen this racetrack. It's a classic racetrack in Mexico City. But he was in that battle with that CDW car, Justin Wilson and Robert Doornbos. Just 8 points separated those two for second place in the overall standings. And it now looks like it's all gone wrong for Robert Doornbos.
It certainly looks like a terminal problem for him. He's going to try and cruise it back to the pit.
Clearly still under power.
You see, yeah, he is trying to get back. I mean, maybe he's stuck in a gear because you could see Justin just close right up on him on the straightaway when they started to get up to speed. And he actually tried to get out of the way as Justin went to pass. So it almost looked like a block at first, but you can see now.
There's an on board here with Justin Wilson taking across the start-finish line there. And boy, yeah, there wasn't much room, was there, to the right-hand side of the racetrack. Justin Wilson now up into top gear. This long throw is more than a kilometre long, then hard on the brakes for turn 1.
You know, I'd love to maybe see that replay again, because I thought that I saw Doornbos's red light flashing on the back of his car to say he's using his power to pass, and I'm not sure if...
Or the pit lane speed limiter.
Or the pit lane speed limiter came on. But you know what? having looked at it now, our computer's telling us he did in fact use 4 seconds of his Cosworth power to pass, so I take that back.
Well, no, maybe we remember we had those problems in Assen in Holland. I don't know that we've had any reprise of those problems there, because as a result of several drivers having problems, including Sebastian Bourdais early in that race, the drivers were told not to use their Cosworth power to pass for the remainder of the event. Here, meanwhile, is Robert Doornbos limping his way very slowly back to the pit lane. And in the meantime, there's been a change for the lead. Sebastian Bourdais has snuck past Will Power.
Both drivers using their Cosworth power to pass. Will obviously in a defensive mode, Sebastian in the offense, but if he got his finger to the button first with the draft down this straightaway, such a long straightaway, very, very clean, textbook maneuver into the first corner there.
Wow, he really took, I think, Will Power by surprise there, James. If you look at Will Power, he's used only 9 seconds of his Cosworth power to pass, so he clearly only used it in the latter part of the straightaway, and that was enough. He gets such a boost with his extra almost 100 horsepower. It's worth about 67 miles an hour. It's a huge kick in the pants, and you get going down the straight, and Sebastian Bourdais used the strategy to perfection.
He really did, and he got 14 seconds out of his power to pass on that run, so he beat Will to the button by quite a margin, which is why you saw him get by so easily. Of course, Will unable to defend. There's no blocking in the ChampCar World Series. Blocking defined as deviating from your racing line, so you're pretty much not allowed to move at all. And just to try and help increase passing a little bit, and that's certainly what it did there. And Sebastian Bourdais now absolutely on a tear, setting the fastest lap of the race at a 1:26.7. Will Power's fastest lap, a 1:27.7. Sebastian Bourdais doing what we've seen him do so many times and really showing why he is a 4-time consecutive champion.
That lap by Sebastian Bourdais, a full 2 seconds quicker than his previous lap around. He knows that pit stops are looming. And there is Paul Tracy for the Forsyth Championship Racing Team.
They were pulling some vents out of the side pod. Maybe the car running a little bit hot, whether it was the water or the oil. One of the coolers has been opened up a little bit more, get a little bit more air into that engine.
Simon Pagenaud and Bruno Junqueira also onto pit lane. They have competed 23 laps. 24 laps now it will be. There goes Bruno Junqueira from beneath our commentary position. And this is a shot of two full-size cars.
This is PT just coming out of the pits here. Graham Rahal right behind him. David Martinez behind him.
Yeah, so those positions, relative positions stay the same then. So Tracy ahead of Graham Rahal. Was that position in fourth as well?
Yes, they were, because PT was in fourth. Graham had just gotten by Simon Pagenaud into fifth.
Yeah, because he was hot on his tail, wasn't he? Here now comes Sebastian Bourdais. So once again, we see Will Power and Sebastian Bourdais getting great fuel consumption. And Cameron Steele is in the Newman Haas Lanigan Racing pit. And Sebastian Bourdais, our 4-time champion, brings the McDonald's car onto pit lane. And right behind him is Will Power.
Guys, I'm here in Sebastian Bourdais' pit. According to Kenny Seawick, no changes to the car. You can see anything other than the black tires going on. Everybody happy, everything smooth down here.
Identical strategies then from Newman Haas Lanigan Racing and from Team Australia, and the positions stay the same. There's Oriol Servia ahead of them on the racetrack. Oriol, he's out of sequence with these other guys, but only for a few laps. He's going to be making a pit stop in probably 2 or 3 laps. Fastest laps, of course, to Robert Doornbos, a 1:24.7. Second fastest lap of the race, Justin Wilson still is a 26.4, but a whole bunch of drivers improved their times last time around. So less than 5 minutes to go here in Mexico City. So it's Sebastian Bourdais who still leads from Will Power. The gap this time around was 1.5 seconds. Will Power, he sets his best lap of the race so far. It's a 1:27.6. Can he make up that deficit? He's using his power to pass right now, even though he's a long way behind Sebastian Bourdais. But certainly, before he's going to make a pass, he's got to get onto Bourdais' tail.
He's got to catch up before he can do it. He's not hitting the power to pass as soon as he gets onto the straightaway. He's using it a little bit later to get a bit more speed, but not to use too much of it. He currently has 35 seconds. Sebastian, 22. So there's still enough to play with on both guys' cards. And this is the gap right here we can see. It was 1.599 seconds last time around. Just a great restart from Sebastian Bourdais.
Certainly was, using all of his experience there, and just got on the power coming out of the Pelotada. He was flat out all the way around it and got on an early jump on the throttle as well.
Down here with Rob Edwards running things for Simon Pagenaud. He lost a couple of positions on the restart. Was he just not aggressive enough or a problem?
I think probably was a little too conservative. He's trying to save some push to pass for the last couple of laps, and thought he could probably not have to use it to stay where he was, and we'll see if we can get it back the last couple of laps here.
You got one back, let's see if we can get the other one.
Yes, and there is Simon Pagenaud. He's got back past Mario Dominguez now, so in 6th place. Will Power in 2nd, Oriol Servia 3rd, Graham Rahal in 4th, then Paul Tracy, Simon Pagenaud, Mario Dominguez in 7th, then Bruno Junqueira, Neil Jarni and Justin Wilson now down into 10th place, the final car on the lead lap. Graham Rahal in 4th. He's only got 6 seconds worth left on his power to pass. And Tyler Tanner, because the team director for PCM, is with Michel Beisner. Looking after the car, of course, Mario Dominguez in 7th place in the Tecate car. Mario's had a great run in front of his home crowd this weekend. And Michel, I guess we're not going to go for that interview right now, but it's still, he's running in 7th place. It certainly would be an excellent result for that PCM team. And they've had several good runs this season. Ryan Dalziel, most notably, had some great runs for that organisation before. Unfortunately, he was sat down in favour of Mario Dominguez for these last couple of races of the season. And the team's best result indeed was scored by Ryan, a 7th place finish in Toronto. And if you remember, in those very difficult conditions there, wet, dry conditions in Toronto, that Ryan was actually up in the top 3 for quite a while. And just in the last couple of laps of the race, he was involved in a position, kind of a contretemps, if you like, with Justin Wilson. He fell back to 7th there. It was certainly a great run for Ryan Dalziel on that occasion. And certainly we hope to see Ryan back in this series in 2008, but right now it's Mario Dominguez there, and he's looking to get maybe 7th or even better, perhaps.
And not just him, his teammate at Pacific Coast Motorsports, Alex Figge, currently running in 11th, easily his best run of the year. So it's looking like this rookie team is going to end their season on a very strong note. We are getting the sign, 1 lap to go. This 2007 Champ Car season is only 2.77 miles from ending, and Sebastian Bourdais is looking set to claim another win and cap off his career in the right way.
Wow. Will Power used the Cosworth power to pass going down to 2-1. Here's Mario Dominguez. He is out of Cosworth power to pass. Bruno Junqueira behind him has 5 seconds worth left. Maybe he can use it on either on this next straightaway here or down into that very tight final chicane. There is Mario Dominguez really under pressure from Bruno Junqueira. Right behind him is Neil Jarni. Then a little bit of a gap back to Justin Wilson, but it's Mario Dominguez clinging on to that 7th place. And Simon Pagenaud just ahead of them set his best lap of the race last time around. As in fact did David Martinez, who turned a flying lap there. 2nd fastest lap of the day, 1:26.0 from David Martinez. He's several laps back down in 14th, but what a great result for him. But there's this man, isn't it? Sebastian Bourdais. He comes out of the S's for the final time. He's looking at career victory number 31 under heavy braking for the chicane. He looks in his mirrors. Will Power is there, but not close enough. And all Sebastian Bourdais now it has to do is get the power down cleanly, not muff any gear shifts, and looks like another magnificent day for the Frenchman. He flashes across the line. There is Jim Swintoll. The checkered flag is out. Sebastian Bourdais wins yet again. Will Power has to make do in 2nd place. Oriol Servia, a great run for BKV Racing. After stalling on the start line, he comes back to finish 3rd. Ahead of Graham Rahal, then Paul Tracy in 5th place. And it is Mario Dominguez who finishes 7th, just ahead of Bruno Junqueira and Neil Jarni. Well, it was a lot of not so exciting racing in the middle stages, but boy, James, that was exciting at the end, and a great result once again for Newman Haas Lanigan Racing.
That full course caution certainly did spice things up a little bit, as Sebastian does his trademark donuts. He has certainly had a lot of practice at doing those over his 5 years here in the Champ Car World Series. Just a brilliant victory. He pulled it out just when he needed to and did it in such style with such class, which we've seen so many times from this man.
He led all the way from the pole here in 2004, swept the board that day. He also, of course, beat Justin Wilson in that last lap thriller 1 year ago, and now win number 3 on this historic racetrack for Sebastian Bourdais. He came into the weekend saying, you know, he really did want to end his ChampCar career on a high. He was so disappointed yesterday in the final qualifying session. He'd been fastest on Friday, had the provisional pole, but yesterday in final qualifying, he just didn't get it together. Slipped. He was actually 10th quickest in yesterday's session, but he started from the front row as a result of that provisional pole on Friday, and he comes away with a great victory this afternoon. But let's have a hand there for David Martinez. It's a great run there. It's Robert Doornbos who gets the fastest lap of the race, but David Martinez, in just his 3rd ChampCar start, he was running well up in the top 5 or 6 until he had a problem in the pits, and he comes away with the 2nd fastest lap of the race. The unofficial results is Sebastian Bourdais wins the race from Will Power, Oriol Servia, Graham Rahal and Paul Tracy, and Simon Pagenaud there ahead of the other Mexican driver Mario Dominguez, then Bruno Junqueira, Neil Jarni and Justin Wilson.
Really no, I don't think there's any more appropriate way for him to cap off his career with another win here. And another, it wasn't just an easy one. It wasn't from pole, easily done. He had to be a little bit strategic. He had to put it down when he needed to. And just brilliant. Great drive from Oriol Servia. Great comeback. Too bad for Graham Rahal. He couldn't be on the podium in the final race of the season, but still a very strong result for him. And then, of course, for Will Power, a good end of the season. Not where he wanted to be overall at the end of the year, but still, he showed incredible pace throughout the course of this year.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed. You know, it's his 5th pole of the season. Only one of them has he translated into a victory. Did, of course, add a 2nd victory during the season, but he wanted to, with 5 poles, he would have expected to have more than the 2 victories that are to his name. But he turns the donuts there on the front straight. And here is Sebastian Bourdais coming up behind him as well. And again, more donuts here for the crowd. And it's been a tremendously exciting end to the race. And there is Sebastian winding up the crowd in a magnificent fashion. And he started off, his donuts were far from the best. But as you say, James, he has now perfected that art.
And you know what? I've just seen Michael Cannon run from the pit wall run from his pit box over to pit wall, right where Sebastian was doing donuts, and giving a round of applause. Very classy guy.
Class all around, and class is what Sebastian Bourdais has been this afternoon in Mexico City. So, it's a scene we've seen so many times. This is his 73rd ChampCar start, win number 31, just absolutely incredible. And Cameron Steele is standing by with our race winner, and you know, his winning percentage is just absolutely remarkable. It's 43% of his race starts have resulted in victory, and you know, you put that among the pantheon of the sports greats over the years. Of course, Juan Manuel Fangio in Formula One, he had a 50% win average, but even Michael Schumacher, so dominant in Formula One, was nowhere near this man. Cameron Steele is with our delighted race winner.
All right, Sebastian Bourdais, 5 seasons, 4 championships, 73 starts, 31 wins, a winning percentage, and he's congratulated by all of his team here. Newman Haas Lanigan, Sebastian, another awesome performance, almost 43% winning percentage in your ChampCar career. It's got to be a great moment here for you.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I can never thank these guys enough for everything they've done to me. I was just crying like a baby in that app, and man, it was just nobody where to finish this off.
The emotion starting to come through. The restart, were you worried about power?
Yeah, because obviously he had like 3 times more power to pass than we did, and you know, this car was just, the Magnus car was just too good today.
All right, a great performance. Congratulations, Sebastian.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, Sebastian Bourdais, another great performance. Let's throw it back upstairs.
Yeah, 8 wins this season in 14 races for Sebastian Bourdais. Just incredible stuff. So look at the unofficial final point standings. A great crowd on hand here in Mexico City. Yet another stunning success for Sebastian Bourdais. Justin Wilson does hold on there for 2nd place ahead of Robert Doornbos and Will Power. So have a look at the final standings in the Roche France Rookie of the Year. Robert Doornbos already had it tied up coming into this weekend. Graham Rahal holds on to 2nd, and Pagenaud just by 1 point over Neil Jarni. Again, let's have a look at our schedule.
schedule for next year. We'll start off in Long Beach and Houston, as we've done for the last couple of seasons. Well, apart from this year in Las Vegas, won't we? But Long Beach and Houston, back-to-back to start off the season. Laguna's Seca, great to see that race back on the schedule. Then we go to Zolder and to Jerez later on in the season. A second visit to Holland. That will be the Assen circuit there. That's a wonderful event as well. So it's been an exciting event here this afternoon. And my thanks to James Hinchliffe, also Ryan Dial, as well as Cameron Steele, Bill Stevens and Michelle Beisler for their sterling work in the pit lane this year. The dedicated team has brought these races to you. Special thanks to everybody who's helped out this year, particularly Gary and Kathy Elkhammer, to our producer Sharon Fricker, our director Jack Sedlak. My name's Jeremy Shaw. Thank you all for joining us this season. I can hardly wait for the 2008 season to kick off at Long Beach next April. For me, Jeremy Shaw, it's goodbye from now.